call the meeting of, the special call meeting for the ABC workshop, and also we've added a agreement we need to read on the Road Flex Fund to order on this day, September 10th, Thursday. Jason, if you will, we have an agreement here, gentlemen, we received from the state, granting us, funding us in the amount not to exceed $250,271 for the mentioned projects that I think Jason will have in this resolution. I will have him read the resolution, and then we will vote to approve it.
All right, Fiscal Court of Marshall County resolution adopting and approving the execution of a rural secondary program agreement between the Fiscal Court and the Commonwealth of Kentucky Transportation Cabinet Department of Rural and Municipal Aid, and accepting all roads and streets referred to therein as being part of the county road system. Be it resolved by the Fiscal Court that the Fiscal Court does hereby certify that all roads and streets referred to in said agreement are county roads as defined in KRS 178.010, Section 1B, and the Fiscal Court does hereby ratify and adopt all statements, representations, warranties, covenants, and agreements contained in said agreement, and does hereby accept the said agreement, and by such acceptance agrees to all the terms and conditions therein stated. And the county judge executive of the county is hereby authorized and directed to sign said agreement as set forth on behalf of the Fiscal Court of Marshall County, and the county clerk of Marshall County is hereby authorized and directed to certify thereto.
All right, gentlemen, you've heard the resolution. I know you're aware of the roads that were mentioned in that, or in our agreement. I would now entertain a motion to accept this agreement, approve this agreement, so we may send it back to Frankfurt and get our money to
So
pave these
moved,
roads.
Judge.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, now, at this time, I would like to say a few words to our audience. We welcome you to our third workshop and on the ABC ordinance for Marshall County. This is the third and final workshop before we vote on the final draft of the ordinance. We have allowed comments from you, the public, at the first two workshops. I must ask you now to give us our time. Let us discuss what needs to be examined in this final draft without interruption. We will not accept any comments or questions during this session. I would also ask that you refrain from any exclamations of approval or disapproval. We take these duties seriously and ask you to respect our time in this body for performing these duties. I realize, and think my fellow court members also realize, that we will not be able to make everyone happy, but realistically, that is not our duty. We have received many calls, emails, correspondence from the public. We respect everyone's opinion and likewise ask you to respect our deliberations at this time. I do not believe there is anything that can be said that has not already been said. In advance, I would like to thank you for your cooperation. And I also need to inform you that some point has come to my attention that people thought today was the final reading. It is not the final reading. That will be later on this month. We do have to advertise that in the paper, and that will be done, and you will be informed when that will take place. All right, at this time, I'm going to turn it over to our Assistant County Attorney, Jason, and he's going to start going through the ordinance.
Okay, thank you, Judge. Before I do that, I do want to kind of dovetail off of what you've already said, and I want to thank the court members. I want to thank Judge Miller, Sheriff Byers, Tracy Watwood, David Elliott, Donnie Woods, Marty Johnson, Greg Northcutt. I know I'm going to miss somebody. I want to thank all those people for helping me and helping us get this thing going. It's been a learning experience, I think, for everybody. And second of all, I also want to thank all the members of the community, all the ones that have showed up, called, emailed. I can assure you that your voices have been heard. I've had one-on-one conversations with everyone up here about this. We've talked about your comments. We've talked about everything in this ordinance. So this, in my 11 years of being here, this is by far the most involvement I've seen from the community, and I've enjoyed it, the interaction and hearing everybody's opinion and getting everybody's input on it. So I thank you for doing that, and I thank you for doing it in a respectful manner. So you're to be commended for that. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get to it here. On page 1, I have not made any changes on page 1 since the last 2 or 3 times that we've met. On page 2, everybody following along? There are no changes there.
Gentlemen, you all please feel free if you have any questions to let us know.
I guess we can go ahead and discuss it since it's at the bottom of page 2 there, and that's the special Sunday license. That's in there now at $300. If that is what is going to be approved for the Sunday sales by the drink.
I may have a little different printout. Mine's on page 3.
Maybe different format.
It's just a different format. I don't think there's.
Well-
any issue.
Do you want to discuss that now? or-
Sunday sales?
Yeah.
I mean, we can. I would actually prefer that we, again, as I stated before, I'd prefer that we, did not have Sunday sales in the beginning, till we can get our administrative offices in place, enforcement in place, see how it's going to impact our law enforcement in the county and even our judicial system. And so that's basically my position anyway. I believe we have, we've got a pretty thriving tourism industry in the county right now, and that'll be able to sell alcohol 6 days a week now, and that's, I think to start, that should be enough.
Commissioner Boland, Commissioner Cobb, do you all have anything to add to that?
Not at this time.
You want to wait till later?
I've stated my point of view previously. I haven't changed.
Okay. On to page 3. At the top, I've made a change since the last time we met. The caterer's license and the bottling house or bottling storage license, that was in there previously, but that's actually not a license that we issue locally. So I changed that to not applicable. So in summary, there are 9 different licenses that we can issue locally. So you should have 9 prices there. Quota retail package, special temporary event license, non-quota type 2, non-quota type 3, special Sunday, non-quota retail malt beverage package, non-quota type 4, and limited golf course license. Those are the 9 that we can issue.
I'm missing one.
Missing a. Everybody got 9?
I've got 8. Go ahead through them again.
Which one are you missing?
I've got quota retail license per annum, special temporary license per event, non-quota type 2 retail drink license, non-quota type 3 retail drink license, 300. Special Sunday retail license per annum, 300. Non-quota retail malt beverage package, and non-quota type 4 retail malt beverage, and limited golf course. So I don't know which one I'm.
Maybe there is only 8.
Okay. Miscount. Pardon me.
Yeah, 8.
Okay, then we've got them.
Okay, my bad. Okay. Let's see. No other pages there on page 3, or changes on page 3. Moving on to page 4, section E there. This is a change that I made, and this was something that Sheriff Byers and I talked about after he had met with some folks from Paducah, or talked to some folks from Paducah. That last paragraph, or last sentence there, if it is deemed necessary in the discretion of the county ABC administrator, the licensee may be required as a condition of receiving a special temporary license to contract directly with the Marsh County Sheriff's Office at the expense of the licensee to provide adequate security for the qualifying event. That's for the special temporary license event. I think that's what Paducah does. They require that in all instances or just some instances? Do you know?
They do it in all special events. That things like beer gardens and stuff like that, that's what they do.
Sheriff, can you move your microphone up a little closer? Thank you. She needs it.
I think it's a good idea to have it in there. I didn't make it mandatory in every instance. I just put it in the discretion of the ABC administrator, but I think for all practical purposes, it's probably gonna be every event. We probably wanna require that.
I agree, Jason. I think it's appropriate.
All right.
Obviously, if they have to do that, then the sheriff's department is aware of the events taking place, and safety-wise, I think that's a good idea too.
And it doesn't cost us anything,
No.
so. All right, no other changes on page 4. No changes on page 5. Page 6, it's at the top of my page. I'm not sure if it's on the top of yours or not, but the regulatory license fee. I think you've all received copies of what Sheriff prepared. It was a pretty thick packet. I mean, he went through lots and lots of numbers. I think we did a very good job of coming up with those numbers. I think we're very justified in coming up with it came out to 6.1%. So, do y'all want to do 6.1 or just round it off to 6? How do you want to do that?
I think it would probably make things simpler to be just 6%. The 6.1 is fine, but we do have people that are going to be working with these figures eventually, and I think we need to have them into some consideration on that.
It's just a big guess anyway, so.
It's absolutely, and it will be reexamined yearly and probably reset when necessary. We have to go through these first stages of finding out exactly what's going to be the figures to work with.
So that's what I put in there after I saw the sheriff's figures at 6% of gross sales. I'm comfortable with that figure based upon the numbers that the sheriff came up with. I think he did a great job on that. The other change that I made in section B there, just not any big change at all, just something specific there. Payment of such regulatory fees shall be remitted to the county treasurer. Before I just had it as county, so I just made it specific to the county treasurer there. That's the only other change that I made on that page. All right. Page 7. No changes on page 7. No changes on page 8. I will say that Wendy has got she gave them to me this morning. I think you all have copies of them too. She's already got some of our applications printed out for me to look at, for you guys to take a look at, to see if those look okay. So I want to thank her for doing that work for us. No pages on page 9. No changes on page 9. I keep saying that. No changes on page 10. No changes on page 11. No changes on 12. No changes on 13. No changes on 14. Changes on 15. No changes on 16. On page 17, I haven't made any changes, but this is an issue that we did talk about, I think, at our first workshop, and that was the record-keeping requirements. I know that there was an issue that popped up about if that would be an undue burden on some of our businesses to keep 30 days worth of audio, video. I didn't change it, it's still stuck at 30 days from what we originally had it, but I didn't know if you guys wanted to discuss that further today.
Is that in line with what's written in the state ordinance?
No.
Is there anything on that?
No. No, I think this is something I think that's discretionary with us.
I think from what I heard in the audience, and the sheriff can correct me if I'm wrong, that it was probably better suited for 7 days because of the clarity on the videos and so forth, and you get that 30-day video and you can't see it near as clear as you can the 7, and most of the time you're not going to be. I wouldn't think you'd be 30 days in. If you start 30 days after the crime, you're not going to solve very many of them.
I mean, it's a two-way street, you know, what I mean by that is 30 days, yeah, that gives you more time, in my opinion, to do an investigation because it may not be caught within the 7 days. But I understand that some of the folks may not have the financial ability to have a video system that goes 30 days. And like I said, I wouldn't want to impose that on anybody if they can't afford it. But it would be nice to have the 30 days, but like I said, it's in the statute, it's not mandatory anyway, so I don't, you know, I don't feel like that we can make anybody do that. It would be nice to have that, but I don't want to put any undue burden on anybody because some of those systems out there are quite expensive.
And just for clarification, this doesn't actually require anybody to have an audio, video recording. It's just if you do, what the
From the
keeping.
investigative side, it would be nice, let's put it that way.
Have no problem with 30 days.
You want to leave it at 30?
Eliminate some folks from even having it though. I was just wondering. I thought 30 days was good, but until they, discussed how much equipment it'd take to store that much information in a high resolution.
Is it not required at all, just recommended? I think it's kind of a moot point then, isn't it?
Yeah, really. I guess you can put in. I hate for them to take out systems that they already have because they don't want to store 30 days worth of data either.
I think if they don't have to have it, that we're being liberal,
It's-
give them 7 days on it and let that be the request to them. But if they don't have to have them anyway, if it's gonna be,
Just a recommendation, it makes no difference whatsoever.
we're not bound to anything if we leave it in there at 30 days. So we just need to remove it completely.
That's totally discretionary. Just whatever you guys want to do.
Why don't we just put in there that a minimum 7 days, if possible, up to 30 days? Is that any reason we can't put that language in there?
Yeah, I can do that.
I think for their own personal safety.
Well,
I
exactly.
wanna say,
No, I
that
mean,
something
there's a
would be
reason for them to have
nice
it,
to have if we
but
can
if
give them
they
that.
have video equipment now, and we require them to keep it 30 days, I'm concerned that they'll just, if it's not mandatory, then they'll simply remove it, and we won't have anything.
I think that the minimum of 7 up to 30 days, if you can put that in there, I think that would cover it both ways. So at a later date, if the businesses have the funds to do so, then they can upgrade their system if they
Exactly.
choose to do so.
So we want to put a minimum of 7 days up to no more than 30 days meeting. That's necessary. Is that all
Okay,
right?
yeah, I can do that.
Work that? Okay.
All right. Page 18. No changes since the last time. I believe we discussed, the last time we were here, that the seasonal language was added in there at the bottom of page 18, as far as the dormancy goes. Give them some protection there. Page 19, hours for sale and delivery. Again, we're talking about, really the only discretion that you guys have here are on closing times. The state requires opening, or the 6 a.m. to be the starting time. So closing times you have discretion over, and then Sunday sale times you have discretion over. So the way that I have it now is that it's 6 a.m. until 12 midnight, Mondays through Saturdays. Sunday sales by the drink shall only be permitted between the hours of 1 until midnight. So that sales by the drink on December 31st, regardless of day of week upon which it may fall, may continue until 1 a.m. on January 1st. In retail package, whether it's distilled spirits or malt beverages, is 6 to midnight, Monday through Saturday. And then the same provision for by the drink sales at golf courses that's on the, that I just read before. Any comments on that?
If I don't hear any comments against, I have to take that they're in agreement with it. If you have anything, and we've heard from Commissioner Gold, if you have any disagreement with this, we need to know now, or otherwise it will stay in there as it is.
I didn't realize they had to be, distilled spirits and wines not kept in coolers had to be locked up on Sundays. I thought they had to be covered up.
I think what that says is,
Well,
if they're kept in coolers, they need to be locked up. If they're not in coolers, they have to be covered up.
Be locked up, it says, if they're not in, all distilled spirits and wines not kept in coolers must be locked up on Sunday.
Oh. Not kept in.
I think in Murray, they're just covered up. The ones out in the aisle.
That would be a lot of work for someone, having to move anything back into a room that's,
well, that's retail package, so the liquor stores are gonna be
they're
closed
gonna be
on
closed. that's
Sunday anyway.
right. So what about the
The
just
beverages,
the malt beverage areas? Is that not covered under that? Is that somewhere else?
let's see.
Okay, and in cases where establishments have aisles of malt beverage, a larger sign. I think that's just right down below, it's covering that.
Yeah,
Okay.
So that's where that's covered.
Right.
So I think we can leave that as is.
all right, no other change, or no changes on page 19. No changes on page 20. No changes on page 21. Okay, page 22, section P. This is where the distance comes into play here. And before I let you guys comment on that, I just want to let everybody know that no matter what distance we end up putting in there, I want to make everybody aware that just because it's more than whatever the distance is, doesn't mean that the liquor store is necessarily going to be approved for it. And because it's within the distance, doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be rejected. This is it's going to have to be a case-by-case determination, and that's by statute. I mean, I don't think we have a whole lot of choice but to make it a case-by-case determination. And as a practical matter, the state is probably going to be the one making the call on that more than we are anyway. So a lot of this may actually be moot. It may actually be taken out of our hands when all is said and done, so.
And just to kind of further state on that, from my understanding, there is nothing in the state statute that mandates any distance at all. And we have been informed that anything we do can be challenged, and we'll have to end up with the state anyway. Is that correct?
Right.
So, whatever we set, it's really at some point probably not going to be in our hands anyway.
It's a recommendation.
Absolutely, just a recommendation.
Jason, what do you have? I think all of us seem to have different copies, but what does your distance read?
The one I have now is 500,
Okay, I thought it had been changed to 1,000.
but it was 1,000.
That's up to us.
It was 1,000 at the first
Originally.
reading, and then bumped it back to 500.
I would support 1,000 feet, just as a recommendation.
Okay.
I also,
I don't have
It
anything
sounds
we
like
can
there's
do.
majority on that, so.
All right, and just as a kind of an information, here are the factors. Distance is a factor. Here are the other factors that we've got listed here. Public sentiment in the area and the fairness to all affected parties, number of other alcohol licensees in the area, potential for future growth, type of area involved, and whether a quota retail package store would detrimentally affect the character of the neighboring properties and/or the property values, type of transportation available, financial potential of the area, whether or not there exists any natural or artificial site barriers, trees, tree lines, hills, other buildings, extensive shrubbery, etc., in the area which would provide an adequate visual and/or sound buffer between the situs of the proposed quota retail package store and the church, school, or daycare facility in question. So those are the factors that we have, and anything else that we may not have listed here that may come into play too, we can obviously take that into account. All right, no other changes on page 23.
Oz.
Is that your wife?
No,
All right, no changes on page 24. No changes on page 25. No changes on page 26. Did everybody like basically the signs and advertising section? I believe I just copied and pasted what Katie's had in theirs. Does everybody like how that reads?
I'm pretty comfortable with that.
too.
I think all of this is challengeable in a court of law, but
Yeah.
got to put something in there. Can and will be.
Page 27, 10046 patio and outdoor sales. I believe since the last time we were here, C1 is a change that I made. It says, that last sentence says, emergency exit shall be required for the outdoor alcoholic beverage area in accordance with any applicable fire codes. So, just have to have them in accordance with the fire code. Pretty self-explanatory there. I don't think there are any other changes on page 27. Page 28, D. I can't remember if that's one we had last time or not, but that's a change that I made somewhere along the way. And those 4 factors that I have there are factors that might allow an outdoor area that's not completely enclosed in certain circumstances, but they would have to meet those criteria there before that would be allowed. Everybody okay with how that looks? And that's it.
All right, Jason, you're going to go and make the changes that, there were very few, weren't there?
I think there's only 2, changing that one provision for the recording
7
to
days.
7 days, and then
and
changing it back to
1,000.
1,000 feet. And that's the only 2 changes that,
Then, if you don't have anything else you want to say at this time, we need to discuss that we need to make a change in what we thought would be our second reading. We need to get this read and in the paper before October 4th, obviously. So we have a working ordinance, and the state doesn't come in and take it. We were going to have our final reading on September the 29th. It has come to our attention, though, that we need to have this in time to publish the ordinance before October 4th. So that means that we need to have it sooner than the 29th because our newspapers just being weekly, we can't get it in soon enough. We also have to advertise the second reading at least 7 days before the reading of the ordinance and have it no later than 21 days after the advertised date. We've looked at the date of September 25th, which is a Friday, and we're going to call this a special called meeting. This is the only thing we're going to do. Jason will at that time have the ordinance drafted, amended to what we've talked about today, and he will read the summary. We will also be publishing the summary today, or putting it in the paper for next week's paper.
For next Tuesday, yes.
For next Tuesday's paper. And it is just the summary of the ordinance, so it's not the official. So at this time, I would ask you if we could have a motion to have a special called meeting on October 25th for the second reading of the ordinance.
Make
Not
that motion,
October
Judge.
20. Didn't you say October?
I meant September if I said October, I'm sorry. I'm rushing time.
What
Can't
time?
imagine why.
When do you want to do it?
9:30?
Anytime.
9:30 on Friday morning, September 25th, we will have the second reading. Is that good with you?
Ma'am,
Earlier, it don't matter to me.
Time that morning will be fine with me.
Let's just leave it 9:30. Everybody's pretty used to that time, I think. We will still have our September 29th meeting. We still have several issues that have come up that we will need to address then, so we will still have the regular meeting on September 29th. All right, is there a motion then to have a special called meeting on Friday, September 25th?
Make that motion, Judge.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Gentlemen, do you have anything you need to say before I adjourn this? I want to tell the audience I do appreciate the respect you've shown us by letting us go through this in an orderly way. We appreciate your concerns, each and every one of you. We've received your letters, we've received your emails, we've taken your calls, we've listened to you. We do respect you for your opinions, and I thank you very much. At this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Judge.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.